Believe it or not, I spent 3 weeks in that hospital. Well, there's a lot of things to be said, but I'm sure glad to be home. While I was in the hospital, it snowed at least 22 inches here at the house. The drive was covered with about 3 feet of snow, and Mom had to shovel it out. A couple of nights she couldn't get there, but Daryl Backus came and got her and brought her over to the hospital. So you see, we've had a lot of different weather than you have over there. Snow and cold, although yesterday it was 50 and today it's 51 and tomorrow it's supposed to be 50 again. So I don't think your Volkswagen would have made it around even going down Washington Street, because the snow was just too deep and you'd had to be pushing snow all the way. That's the advantage, I guess, of the old cars with the high wheels. Well, some of the people even put on chains. The only way you get through. A lot of offices were closed. Federal Center said nobody needed to come to work all day, and a lot of banks and offices that people just couldn't get to work. Well, I'm on the mend, actually. Being home helps a lot. But I still got a bandage over my incision. So we'll have to keep watching that until it's all cleared up. I seem to be able to have better control of everything than I did before, so thank God whatever we did was for benefit, rather than just going there and suffering and hurting and stuff like that.
Hi, Jim. This is Mom, and I want to say how much we appreciate your interesting letters. We've had 2 of them now and have read them to lots of people. Dad and Audrey were down yesterday and they enjoyed hearing from you, and Carolyn and Manny. And Joanne and Daryl, I read them to them. And tomorrow's election day.
They were beginners, let me say it that way. And I guess they broke about 3 sets of skis. But I'm sure Monkey Ward's made money on him. Mom's got all the stitches out of her hands. The left hand looks real good, but the right hand looks kind of crummy and wrinkled. The kind of stitches they used were what the kind they use in plastic surgery, but I don't know, right in the middle of her hand it left a wrinkle where the skin's sticking up, and it's not dead skin, it's live skin. And I don't think she realized, but I think they're going to have to cut that little piece off again and to make this middle of her hand smooth. Like I said, the left hand is healed real nice. It's still red where the scar was. The right hand still has some of that dead scar tissue that you have after you have a cut in the skin. But otherwise, it's healing up pretty good, and she has no more trouble with, closing her hands or holding on things, except that she's got to be careful not to strain her hands, like open jars or things like that. Not for a while, because you sort of wouldn't want that to come back again. That's kind of a kooky thing anyway. I just came back from the doctor this morning, and I'm doing all right. So I got that over with. In fact, I don't have to go back to see him anymore, so if he's satisfied, I'm certainly glad. Let's hope 1973 don't have all those casualties and doctor bills and hospital bills for us that we had last year. We went for a long time without anything, then everything happened all in 1 year, I guess. And so Gates, I don't know whether we told you, but Orrin and Betty and Jim and Janet stopped over for New Year's Eve, and Orrin and Betty we went over to Roar's with us, and then left on Easter, or on on New Year's Day. At the same time, Joanne and Joyce had to go to South Dakota. Their father died, and the day they wanted to come back, there was such a snowstorm that they couldn't even see across the street at all of it, and then they wanted to leave on a Sunday morning, and they couldn't leave till noon because the roads were blocked between Menno and Yankton. So they've got miserable weather up there too. Although up until then, South Dakota didn't have very much snow. Not nearly as much as snow. We have more snow here than, it's way above average, and especially in the southern part of the state. This makes the skiers real happy, and of course also makes the farmers happy, because that means plenty of irrigation water next spring and next summer. Say, I gotta tell you a kooky thing that happened that is really kind of funny. Somewhere along my travels, and evidently when I was in the army in Germany, I picked up a card printed in German that said, best wishes on your 25th wedding anniversary. And it was engraved with raised letters, you know, and the ink was, it was printed in silver. And I had it around for a long time, and about a year ago or so, Carolyn mentioned that Strauch's silver wedding anniversary would be January the 1st, so I says, boy, I'll save that and send it to them, because they'd really be surprised to get a card printed all in German. And it was a real nice card. In fact, it was one of those where there's one envelope inside the other envelope. Well, when I got ready out to send it, the outer envelope looked so tacky, I says, we'll throw that away. And then the inside envelope was a little smudged too, so Mom erased some of the dirt off, and we says, well, they won't know anyway, the envelope could have got dirty in the mail. Well, I sent it to them, and so Carolyn calls up and says, oh, the Strauchs were really pleased with that card. They showed it to everybody, and the stamp, that Hitler stamp I sent him, they're really tickled about that. In fact, he put it in a glass frame and it's got it on the wall. So I says, what Hitler stamp? I didn't send him a Hitler stamp. Oh, yes, you did. He says, inside that card, with the card in the envelope, was a 3-mark Hitler stamp. Well, evidently it was in this envelope all this time I've had it, and I didn't know it. Mom handled it, she didn't know it. So they thought this was a wonderful gift to give him. In fact, Manny looked up in the stamp book and find out that stamp's worth $100. Well, they think I gave it to them, so I can't ask for it back. But boy, if I had a stamp that was worth $100, I'd sell out and get the $100. And of course, they're tickled pink, and like I say, they've got it in a glass frame and on the wall, and everybody comes. Mr. Strauch shows it to them. In fact, I'd like to go see it myself. And that's really a kooky thing that all this time I brought that back home from Germany and had it, you know, all my travels wherever we've lived, and just happened to find it there about a year ago, and I never looked inside that envelope, and evidently there was that Hitler stamp inside there. Now, ain't that something, huh? Let me get you back to the cold weather. I don't know whether you know it, but they run out of fuel oil in the high schools here, and the first week of this year, 22 schools were closed because they didn't have enough fuel oil to heat them. And like out at the airport, they turned down the temperature real low, and some of the grocery stores have turned down their temperature to conserve fuel oil. And fuel for heating has become a problem all at once now, whether this is because the oil companies are holding back or what, but at least it's happened. This week all the schools are operating, and unless we have a prolonged period of real bitter cold weather, they'll be able to keep the schools open. Otherwise, they're going to have to close the schools again for a while to catch up with their fuel oil. So evidently our cold weather is very unusual. Of course, right now the oil companies are all trying to hold on to their depletion allowance, so I got a feeling there's more there than meets the eye. That evidently they want to prove to the people that fuel oil and fuel is essential, and that they need the depletion allowance, which I suppose is so. Because if you understand the depletion allowance, that means that if they drill a well in a matter of 4 years, they can count that all off as depreciate the whole thing. And of course, a lot of wells, I suppose, in 4 years are pumped empty, so that the well actually is of no value anymore anyway. It isn't like a building that retains its value. In fact, this inflationary trend of ours, a building in 4 years will be worth more than we started. And the same thing with land, it appreciates. Whereas an oil well, you're pumping the oil out, and eventually it's dry, and it's depreciated whether they're allowed that or not.
That's the end of the tape.
Dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms when I